Hey, Pahrump, I'm Dr. Reiner and Dr.
Hey, Pahrump, happy Trump President Day.
Yeah. So I wasn't here last Monday. You weren't either.
No,
right?
no, we've had trouble getting here on the same day, but
Yeah,
it's good to be back.
You've been busy. It happens that way, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. We've been. Yeah, it's a busy time. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. It's just.
You had a lot of that flu and sickness going through your office.
I think everybody got the Pahrump crud. Some people got it worse than others, but I actually got something earlier in the year, like about September, and then it kind of came back a little bit later in the year. I think it kind of circulates and mutates. I do use that regimen, and I've talked about it on the show. If you can catch it in the first 2 or 3, in the first 24 hours, the regimen is Sambucol, which is black elderberry.
Very effective. Very effective.
And then you've got colloidal silver, being a heavy metal, interferes with viral attachment. Echinacea can work very well. And there's something else that on there that I just someone sent me something. Bee pollen propolis. Propolis has a lot of flavonoids, a lot of antioxidants. So there's a strong antioxidant, vitamin C, echinacea, colloidal silver, ginger if there's some stomach problems, activated charcoal if you're vomiting. And I got this out of a book on Ebola.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't make it up. I mean, this is what these people do down in Texas, and they basically say when they get sick, they get this regimen, and they basically don't get sick. So
they don't get as sick, and the key is rest and lots of fluids.
Yeah,
you people, lots of fluids.
I guess Ray is on the phone.
Yeah.
Ray, good evening.
Welcome back, gentlemen.
Yes.
Hello, Ray.
What about B17? Doesn't B17 work for that also?
What's that, Laetrile?
No, yeah, Laetrile. That's B17. I think from the seed of the apricot.
B17 Laetrile. People have told me Laetrile is something else. That B17 is just something that is in different seeds, and Laetrile is maybe some kind of offshoot of it.
Well, I've always heard Laetrile is very useful in cancer. There was one patient, and I digress, but there's one patient that came in and he was going to drink, smoke, do everything he could because he was so certain that B17 was going to prevent him from getting cancer. So that was his rationale for doing that stuff. And it's, the conspiracy part of it is you can't get B17 in this country.
No.
You have to go to Mexico to get it. It's apricot. It's in an apricot seed and things of that nature. So if you can get it, it has been very useful. I had a patient, and this is true. She was getting it from Mexico. She had liver cancer. Now she actually was on B17, and for some reason she stopped it. I don't know if she couldn't get to Mexico. She was dead in 6 months.
Yeah.
So I do believe it's very, very useful as a cancer fighting tool, and along with those conspiracy theories that cancer is regimental and chemo is basically big pharma, and B17 might be helpful. I mean, I wouldn't want the listening audience that are currently taking chemo or doing something for cancer to go out and scrap their chemo and not talk to their doctor and take B17, but I can just tell you 2 cases where I've seen it really, or at least one for sure, case where it really was helpful.
Well, you talked previously on a show about that lady. You had mentioned that she was taking B17 and she was in remission, and for some reason she stopped taking it and the cancer came back, and I didn't know she passed away, but I mean,
she did.
There's something to it. There's something to that B17. If you look on the internet, it seems like there's a lot of anecdotal stuff, but I mean, people should try it. And as far as chemo, I'm completely against chemo. It just doesn't help people. There's such a small survival rate with chemo, it's ridiculous. And yet people subject themselves to the chemo when they can try something alternative, which I believe there's probably 1,000 alternative things that you can try,
Yeah.
Well, one of the problems, Ray, is chemo is FDA approved.
That's right, and it's money. It's the money maker.
Chemo is FDA approved, folks.
Yeah.
Right.
And Laetrile and B12 and CBD, well, the CBD you can get now is not approved by the FDA.
No, but there's possibilities with the CBDs, definitely.
Yeah.
My question tonight is, what is Crohn's disease? My niece says she has Crohn's disease and also diverticulosis. If you can explain that, and I'll call in later, and maybe some other people will follow up on my call.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna let you take that one.
Crohn's?
Yeah.
Bowel run of the stars? I joke about this, and I'll digress, but in the anatomic portion of the terminal colon, the sigmoid, there's three flaps of tissue that were described anatomically by a doctor, and they were called the valves of Houston. Okay, and that just goes to show you that Houston, as a town, is near the asshole of the world. So, but
Flush twice, it's a long ways to Houston.
yeah. Well, I mean, Houston as a town was created of a mosquito-infested swamp, and it only existed because of the ship channel.
Oh, yeah.
So other than that, it probably should have never been a city, but it is a thriving metropolis and haven for crime and all kinds of bad stuff. Anyway, Crohn's disease. Crohn's disease is an inflammatory bowel disease, okay? And what I mean inflammatory disease is that it is not the same thing as what we would call irritable bowel. People confuse irritable bowel.
Is it an autoimmune?
Yes, it is.
That's right.
It does have an autoimmune component, and what happens is it's little different than, but in the same family as ulcerative colitis. But Crohn's disease is basically an autoimmune in the small and more in the small intestine. And it basically affects absorption. You get irritation, bowel swelling, pain, bloody diarrhea, and it can go on for days. The treatment's basically the same. It used to be sulfoxylic compounds, and now they've come out with corticosteroids, other things of that nature. But now you're moving into some of the new immunotherapies. If you look, they got the monoclonal antibodies. Anytime you see on the TV the MAUB, M-A-U-B, you're looking at a monoclonal antibody type of immunotherapy. And that's what, we were talking about chemotherapy, cancers, and things of that nature. There's a lot of new monoclonal antibodies that are being made for specific diseases that will be better than chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is barbaric. You're destroying good tissue and bad tissue at the same time. So how are you possibly going to cure a cancer? You're going to kill not only the cancer, but you're going to kill your own body, and that's why this doesn't work. So Crohn's disease is not a good diagnosis. It is a spectrum of diseases. You can have mild cases to really severe cases. The really severe cases can be associated with other arthritides, because if you've got an autoimmune thing, it can attack not only the colon, the small intestine, it can attack your arthritis, it can attack your eyes. So there's a lot of bleed over into that. So if you've got this recurrent diarrhea, bloody diarrhea, stuff of that nature, without getting, ptomaine food poisoning, things of that nature, and blood in your diarrhea, please get that checked out. They can do a biopsy and a colonoscopy and do that. That's different than irritable bowel. Irritable bowel is a condition where you basically have alternating diarrhea, constipation, depending on your diet, and that's a subject for a whole thing. They have some medications out there, but to be very careful when you're taking them. But the cure for a irritable bowel is a lot of fiber, because it absorbs water when you have diarrhea, and it adds bulk when you, or adds fluid when you're constipated. So, I'll hold on the diverticulitis and diverticulosis and litis until we take Dave's question, and I'll come back, because Dave has been hanging on the phone. Dave.
Yes, how are you fellows doing tonight?
Good.
My question is that I've heard a lot of things about mangosteen, the fruit mangosteen, indigenous to Southeast Asia, and its healing benefits. And apparently, out of the 200 known xanthines in medical science or in science, there's 40 in that one fruit, which makes it it's considered the queen of all fruits. Am I being misled with this information, and what is your opinion of mangosteen?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have much of an opinion, Dave, because I don't know much about that subject, but I need you to turn down your TV, because I got some echo.
I don't even have my TV on right now.
Okay, well, when we get an echo, I'll have my producer fix that. But basically, I would, any type of food product or, things of that nature, nobody's doing controlled studies on. So it's hard for me as a physician when you're using evidence-based medicine and you do one study and you get a control, what we call a double-blind crossover placebo study, where one group gets the medication, the other group gets a placebo, that group gets the medicine, and the other one group gets a placebo, and you look for the desired effect and you statistically see if there's a difference between the two groups. So in that case, that's what we use evidence-based medicine on. Does the cause and there's effect and things of that nature. What you're talking about is is it a Middle Eastern fruit?
Asian.
Yes, Southeast Asia
Southeast
is where
Asia.
it's indigenous to.
Well, I mean, on the surface, I got to say it's probably true, only because I do believe that I do believe that God put everything on this planet that we need, and I don't know what conditions it would be specific for, but I'd have to do a little bit of reading on it to see if I can pick out any information that I can relate to how it might work in the body. But other than that, you're kind of on your own with it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Interesting thing. I'll try and do some research. I had one patient come in today and brought me something that was, she was using it as a cold remedy. You know her. She comes in the office to see you and me. And anyway, it was something, but it looked like it had it helped her with a cold. So who knows? Anyway, we're going to go to break, and I'll come back and we'll talk about another bowel disorder. Thank you. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Reiner, your host of the Independent Doctors of Pahrump, a TV show that airs Monday night on Channel 46. I want to remind you that I am a practicing physician in Pahrump, and I'm an independent practitioner, which means I am not bought by any insurance company or corporate medicine. We provide the highest level of care. We have nurse practitioners. We have other physicians, specialists who come to our office. Please come visit me. I'm at 1316 East Calvada here in the heart of Pahrump. Thank you.